Hajj is becoming so expensive. So if we have already performed Hajj and Umrah, should we continue performing them from time to time, or should we give the money to poor people? It all depends. Somebody who is, mashallah, very wealthy, and he can afford to send people to perform Hajj on his own cost. Meanwhile, he likes to go for Hajj. People are wealthy, they like to take vacations. Some they go to Paris, some go to Niagara Falls in between Canada and the States. Some go to Disney. I mean, a lot of people waste their money here and there. So somebody saves the money of going here and there and maybe committing sins and say, I'd like to go to perform Hajj, me and my family. I know many of my friends whom Allah blessed with plenty of wealth. Some of whom are billionaires, literally. So going for Hajj every year does not really affect them financially, because they could be spending double and triple that much spending for going to any trip in Europe or in the States. So this is their siyaha, this is their tourism. In this case, yes, we ask them to go, because the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, تابعوا بين الحج والعمرة فإنهما ينفيان الفقر والذنوب كما ينفي الكير خبث الحديد والذهب والفضة. تابع means follow up, as there are other hadith indicated that one should, if he is wealthy and physically fit, should not skip performing Hajj and Umrah at least once every 5 years, if he or she is wealthy and they have the means. So tabi'u means follow up on performing Hajj and Umrah, because they overcome poverty and sins. Poverty and sins. That those who go to perform Hajj, Allah give them a replacement in their wealth, give them more wealth and barakah in their wealth. And they overcome sins. Real sins, as we know that the Prophet ﷺ said, العمرة إلى العمرة كفارة لما بينهما. Performing Umrah after another Umrah is an expiation for whatever sins were committed in between. والحج المبرور ليس له جزاء إلا الجنة. And the Hajj which will be done properly and will be accepted by Allah, its reward is not lesser than paradise. So they are eager to do that. Fine. Many of at-tabi'een used to perform Hajj every year or every other year. Abdullah ibn Mubarak would go for jihad 1 year, and the other year or the next year would go for Hajj, and will keep alternating between both. During disasters, such as we have a chaos in Somalia. Somalia is a country that have, guess what, human beings like us. Forget about their religion. They are human beings like us. They are dying in thousands and tens of thousands. You know why? Out of poverty. While we have people who are wasting tons of food. If you see the parties, how the wealthy Muslims waste tons of food after every party, and a fraction of this food would be sufficient to suffice for the needy people, whether in Somalia, whether in Darfur, in Sudan, whether the victims of the flood in Pakistan, you will know that we're full of shortcomings. So during crises and calamities, one should think about helping those who are in need, risking the lives of people before going for Hajj or Umrah. Unless, as I said earlier, if one can afford both, is very wealthy, and mashallah he sent his zakat already, in addition to double or triple or 10 times more than that in voluntary charity. He knew that the people in Somalia are in need, he sent $1 million or $2 million. So 50,000 or 60,000 or 100,000 won't hurt him. He wants to go for Hajj because he feels that he wants to be purified. So we cannot generalize and say no Hajj. Why? Because people are in need. You know what happened to those who tried to ban people from going for Hajj? Do you remember 2 years ago when I addressed this issue on Ask Huda, when the oldest Tunisian president banned the Tunisian people from going for Hajj? Not a single Tunisian was able to go for Hajj 2 years ago from Tunisia, because the guy whose name Zayn al-Abidin bin Ali banned Hajj literally. He relied on an excuse that there is a swine flu, etc., and we all know that it was fake. So what happened is he banned Hajj. As we were returning from Hajj, alhamdulillah, that year was the greatest year as far as even common flu, regular flu, we did not have that much flu. And only 4 cases amongst 4 million people who performed Hajj were reported. 4 million and only 4 cases. And soon as we returned, I read in the news that the Tunisian president had the swine flu in his palace. And where is the Tunisian president right now? He is just less than an hour drive from the Kaaba, but he cannot perform Hajj nor Umrah. He is not invited. So for those who can afford it, and Allah invited them, go for it, as long as you can afford both. But if you know that, alhamdulillah, you performed Hajj, and there are people who are dying to perform Hajj and cannot afford the means, and you can barely do that, so for paying for their Hajj, or settling their debt, or assisting them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the reward of Hajj. I'm talking a lot about this because an incident happened to Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak, may Allah be pleased with him, the great scholar. As I said, that he used to go for Hajj every other year. So that year he was preparing to lead a caravan to go for Hajj. And on the way, he had like 50,000 or so. On the way, he noticed there was a woman who was picking in the trash, and she collected a dead chicken. So he followed her. She was cooking the dead chicken to her children. He said to her, fear Allah, how can you feed your children dead animal? Don't you know that it is haram? He said, what can I do if I'm a widow and I don't have any means to provide for my kids? He felt very sorry, and he gave her all the money he had with him where he was going for Hajj. He gave her all the money, and he made a U-turn. He did not go for Hajj. You know what happened? His company went and performed Hajj, and when they returned, everybody was talking about the great man, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, how generous to them he was in Hajj, and how he educated them and answered their masail about Hajj. And Abdullah ibn Mubarak never left his city. So when he went to sleep, he got in a dream an inspiration that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appointed an angel to perform Hajj on his behalf, who disguised like him, and his Hajj has been accepted.